Merhaba ki.
Just a second. Okay, this is better camera. Hello, you. Hello, Amir. Hello, Steven. Hello, Sarah. Hello, David. Nice seeing you. So, thank you for following, for being flexible, for starting a little later. So, probably it will be hard for all of us to go to all conferences that are available in the world. The main goal for next year is the February conference in Sunnyvale, which I encourage everyone to go, and I will make all effort, and including financial, that it will be fully covered. So the abstract for the Sunnyvale will be due on the last day of December. But in addition to this primary goal, there are a couple of other conferences, and since deadlines are soon, even if we are not sure if you will go, it's better to submit. And then maybe later they accept the submission, and one can tell, oh, sorry, I cannot go. Or we can do a trick and send a delegate from the group who will hang all posters, and then we all get credit for presenting at a conference. So I suggest we'll try to send abstracts, not to miss the opportunity on one hand, and second, to practice our abstracts, because if they are for something real, then it gives additional responsibility to make them perfect. So before we go to the abstracts, let me share a couple of very basic slides. This is not something smart, but if you never applied, if you never traveled to American Chemical Society conference, here is how one can find the spot. So the due date is in about 10 days from now, so we have plenty of time. And I'm not strongly requesting, but it's better to submit than not to submit. Okay, so looking online for American Chemical Society Spring 22, following the link, and then it will show abstract resources. By clicking on abstract resources, it will give navigation to how to access maps. So maps doesn't mean Google Maps of geographical places. It's an abbreviation for Meeting Abstract Processing System, something like that. And then maps.acs.org, if one clicks there, it will give a list of conferences, and then one selects Spring 2022. So maybe at some stage it will ask for not membership. It will not require any manual membership, but maybe it will ask the login information to create an account. I didn't experience it because maybe the browser read it immediately. But then after one clicks onto this maps and to this Spring 2022, there will be a button submission. And if one clicks onto submission, there will be an option to create new submission. So you click there, and then there will be places to put the title of the abstract, the actual body of the abstract. Later on, before submission, you can put there your collaborators. And after you after you copy paste title and abstract, there will be most important thing. Most important thing is to select symposium. So there will be questions like prefer oral or poster. So oral is a little more competitive and it is more glory if you are selected. And very typical if one submits for oral and it is automatically transferred to poster. Poster is not bad because it gives broader options for one or few group members representing others. So also they may give options to present virtually, which could be an option, but one can select participate in person right now and select virtual at later time. So then at the bottom here, I'm blocking it and I can just show it live in the browser, but most important thing is select the program area. And the research that we are doing most closely related to physical chemistry, but in addition, there are a couple of other options. There are computers in chemistry, there is energy and fuel, there is a polymeric chemistry. So ideally, if we all select one symposium, it will be easier, but there are no strict bounds. So just look what seems interesting and matching your main research avenue. And then after selecting, for example, physical chemistry, there will be several sections, several symposia in each section. So for example, although Amir is doing conjugated polymers, his work seems to be very much matching charge transfer at nanoscale interfaces. So it's something to consider. And basically after that, you answer all questions and submit, and in a couple of months, they tell your work is accepted or rejected or promoted from, like, degraded from oral to the poster. And about a couple of months before the conference, we need to make final decision if presenting virtually, if traveling there, and reserving hotels and flight if going in person. So a month ago, I identified that yes, energy and charge transfer may match Amir. The polarity on chemistry would match may match what Yun is doing and what Samir is doing, although he's not going to group meetings, but the road is open for him, so it is chemical reactions under intense light. And the division of energy and fuels has a section on perovskites where David may consider to submit. So David, even if you are not sure if you will be able to go, I think for your stage of career and graduate school, it's better to submit at some point to have record of accomplishments. And we can discuss mechanics of how to bring it to the reality, but it's better to submit. Okay, so it is a little motivation what to do with abstracts when they're ready. And you're free to interact with your collaborators or go ahead yourself. It's a very liberal environment. Right now, we're going to overview the drafts of abstracts by critical editing, as we typically do with other portions of the paper and paper drafts, and the abstracts are dual destiny objects. They can be used to apply for conferences, and they can be used as a part of the paper. And in this case, it's not considered as a self-plagiarism. So if you are going to the conference to present a work, it's okay to have the same abstract with a paper. You cannot do two papers with the same abstract, but one can do paper and a conference. So I would like to give a round of applause to Aaron. His work on combined positive and negative tolerance and defect tolerance is accepted, and the help of the group members will be mentioned in the final version of the published paper. So many thanks to everyone who provided healthy criticism to this paper. So here are the links. They are updated. They were updated since the invitation email. So let me copy the link to the chat line.
Excuse me, Dr. Kinney, do you want to submit the same abstract for both this conference in San Diego and that one was Sunnyvale?
Mm-hmm.
So both of them are the same abstract, right?
Yes. The ACS I'll better just resend the link to all recipients. Okay. Now everyone has the link to this abstracts. I don't know what is going this chat line. So the signable abstracts are not considered as publication. So if there will be no edits to the abstracts, people will not criticize you. But by the time of submitting abstracts for signable, we all will get older and wiser in a couple of months, and we may add something to the abstracts. Does it answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, so here are the links, and I do not have guidelines, but the editing or making critical comments to abstracts could be natural. So just by trying to be critical and follow the approximate, I would say, four section pattern. So general area, open challenge, no, 5. Area, open challenge, used method, main result, and benefits for community. Like I am looking on, we are looking on conjugated polymers for photovoltaics. The arbitrarily synthesized pair of donor acceptor may or may not give charge transfer, which is a challenge. We use charge transfer dynamics by Redfield equation to check whether charge transfer will happen upon photoexcitation. And the last, the results will help society to make efficient photovoltaics. So I am not the carrier of the ultimate truth. So if you have better natural feelings of ideal abstracts, please feel free to implement your ideas while helping each other. So I suggest we are going to mute mode for an hour or maybe shorter, and go one by one between each abstracts and try to make comments or type between lines, critical but friendly comments. And those who need to leave because of TA duties may read comments later on and implement them in the abstracts. Those who will stay for longer, so in about an hour or maybe earlier, we all will come up back to discussion mode with microphones and cameras, and go one by one and discuss each abstract, suggesting author what can be changed, and then records will be also shared with everyone. I don't know if I was sharing the recordings of the previous meeting, but they are in this document that is open for everyone to access. I can resend. Let me know if I need to resend, or if you have access to the whole. Oh, better share the whole document. Copy link. I believe everyone is has editing privileges for this Google Docs document, but in this way, I'm just reminding what it is. Okay. Any suggestions about the procedure? If no, let me invite everyone to just start critical reading, and I will invite to come back in about 1 hour. David, since you need to leave, do you have any questions or discussion points right now?
No.
Okay, yeah, thank you. It was nice to see you today in the lab. I didn't expect we will run into each other. Okay, so you feel free to switch off microphones and cameras and turn them back on in about an hour. And Stephen, please say hi to Roxy. Okay. Am I the last one, or someone needs more time to edit and live and generate comments? Please. Does anyone who needs more time, or we can go to discussion? I see only answer from Aaron's cat. It looks like maybe I need more time. So if no one is against, let's go and discuss available abstracts one by one, starting with Aaron. And if it is easy, discussion, I'll try to do it myself. If there are complicated questions, I will ask the author, the reviewer, to explain what is going on. So, abstract number 1 by Aaron. I wonder if the goal is to identify champion morphology or identify rules that help to select between a variety of morphologies. So it's not criticism, it's just a way to present material better. Aaron, would it fit your line of thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So then there are a couple of statements that I want to fully agree, but I don't know how to match them together, just how to name them. So it looks like there are about 3 sentences that either identify a mechanism or select the word from cheminformatics, descriptors that is responsible for best emission. And also, as one reads it, it's not clear, is it more hypothesis or more result and reported policy for other researchers. So Aaron, what is your comment? Am I speaking complete nonsense that shows my ignorance, or there is a way to avoid questions like this by rearrangement?
I don't know. I guess I don't really understand what the question is, but I don't know. There's no like clear like one trend throughout the whole like set of molecules we look at. So it's hard to, write a concise like summary.
Okay, so
so the main, I guess, like the simplest way to say it is, for some of the molecules which don't have charge transfer, making them more rigid helps improve quantum yield. But for molecules which have greater charge transfer, making them more rigid actually decreases the yield.
okay, would it be correct to say that there are 2 competing trends or 2 competing descriptors?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe one can declare it, because abstracts are being read by not fully sober readers who are limited in time, and it's better just to declare what to expect in next sentence. So just declare there the research identifies competing trends, and then it will bring peace into mind of the reader. Does your abstract specifies which of structures that you considered gives the best quantum yield? I feel myself lost and not found it.
Not by exact name, but the ones that have low charge transfer, but then have unsaturated annihilation.
Okay. Is it like a few percent or several times better?
Like marginally better.
Okay, then maybe just tell it as is marginally better, but still the procedure gives a champion, helps to identify best emitter.
Mhm.
The smart reader will find it in the text of the paper anyway, so there is no reason to hide it.
Mhm.
Are there more questions to Aaron's abstract? More questions one, more questions two. Steven, do you have specific questions to Aaron? Okay, so more questions, no more questions three. Let's go to the number two by Kea. Wow, it's popular. The audience is excited by this work. So Sarah wants to mention properties of the ground state. Amir requests to define abbreviations. Yes, it's good. Amir, it's the same. Okay, I think it is
Yeah, they are the same.
the same. Okay. Here is the comment from myself. Why one needs further induced time-dependent dynamics? So if our thinking is experiment or industry-centered, then dynamics itself is not a goal. The goal is to predict photoluminescence. So maybe it's better to communicate it right away. Aaron suggests to replace explain to explore.
Okay.
Off to for. Then Amir complains that focus of the abstract, the weight of the abstract is on methods rather than results. Then I suggest to chop not only paragraph but the sentence, because the way how dynamics is computed is methods, but then you merge it into one sentence. Comparison of relaxation rates is more results. So it's two different categories. It's better at least to display them in different sentences. So it helps logics. Next one. I think it is more than one. So Aaron suggests to declare importance connection between dynamics and photoluminescence at earlier stage, which I fully support. I do not see more comments. Are there more verbal questions or comments to Kea? Kea, do you have any defense of your statement and telling no, I do not follow what you suggest, I want my way?
No, nothing to say.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So more questions one, more questions two, more questions three. So the case is closed. Let's go to the next one. Work by Samir is also doesn't leave anyone cold-blooded, so it induces several questions. Molecule is well characterized for the dissociation, or is for the later thing. So comment from myself, what is the challenge and how to understand the word control. So maybe one needs to give definition, speed up, slow down, or change the outcome of reaction. Aaron suggests better verbalization, in more specific, more with well-characterized photodissociation pathway. David is trying to understand what is told. So for me, it's also not explained which approximations. So it's definitely too short, and additional details are needed. Amir suggests any conclusions. Yes, I agree. Is it not better to use more formal language? Yes, I agree. I don't know what about the author. And I think it is incomplete. The last statement is very intriguing, but it only a formulation of question, but it doesn't give an answer. And by the time work is draft is offered, there are conclusions that can be summarized and mentioned in the abstract. So the conclusion of the computations must be present here. So agree with Amir. More questions to Samir? If no, let's go to the abstract by David Grosvenor. And it's clear that we all are in the process of developing abstracts, and if something is incomplete, it can be added later. So let halide perovskites are being studied. In this sentence, maybe I'm picky and spoiled, but it's not clear. Studied by author of this work or by every research on the globe. So long-term stability. Aaron is, so I hope David is watching the recordings. So Aaron is asking if the following simulation addresses the question of stability and to moisture. And we have already watched the figures, and we haven't seen any water adsorbed. So probably the results do not address insight into this challenge. So then the next sentence tells that two-dimensional perovskites actually solve this challenge. And then it looks like no further research is needed. There is a challenge and there is a solution. So one needs to declare a challenge that is addressed in this work, not by other researchers on the globe. So I do not see challenges for two-dimensional perovskites. They definitely are, but they are not declared here. So David is writing that density function theory is used, and Aaron writes a protest that mentioning only density functional theory kind of skips most important part of the work. It doesn't mention excited state dynamics, which is much cooler and competitive than just DFT. You is asking how the thickness is related to stability. Well, this question offers formal logic, because originally David asking about tells that challenge is stability, and then offers computation of the thickness. But those are apples and oranges. There is a skipped logic here. The logic is like two-stage. First, stability is a challenge, and it is addressed by doing two-dimensional perovskites. And in two-dimensional perovskites, there are their own challenges that David hides from us. And by studying dependence on thickness, one may address challenges for two-dimensional perovskites. Even does it make sense? Or you're still confused with what is going on with David's work? Okay, yeah, thank you. So dependence on thickness, is it novel? Is there any answer even before computations? Is David Grossman the first person in the world to explore thickness? So what would be the new information? So probably the dependence of the gap on thickness is predictable just by particle in the box and was published by many people. So novelty can come only from excited state dynamics, and there is no reason to hide what is novel. So thickness affecting on ground state is basic. It is known. It's only a proof of concept to mention. Most interesting and important how the thickness affects dynamic processes, recombination, and quantum yield, which is a truly strong thing and makes this work competitive. But there is no reason to hide it from the abstract. So, David, if you're watching this video, please consider to include this statement. So next, from Yulun, isn't clear what things are combined together. So it's so short that it's hard to criticize and hard to advocate. I can try briefly mentioning my understanding what David is doing and what he wants to say. So his work is two-stage. One is exploring the properties on thickness, and another he attempts to build an interface of two different types of two-dimensional crystals, and hoping that this interface of two different crystals makes quantum yield more efficient. But it is completely not understandable from the language. So I think he was typing the abstract in maybe last minute and stopped in the middle of the sentence. Stephen is asking, how does the general structure of formula relate to the work? Do you also calculate the effect of varying composition? Again, this is too short to criticize. I mean the abstract by David, but let me answer my understanding. So the perovskites which are periodic in 3 dimensions and perovskites which are periodic in 2 dimensions and then have insulating layers are slightly different by their chemical composition, because insulating layers increases proportion of this insulator. And so it is our human thinking. And by thinking of synthetic chemistry, it is opposite. By admixing the different proportions of precursors, one may facilitate crystallization of different structures, either 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional. So the structural confinement, structural properties of these materials can be controlled during synthesis by slight change of the proportions. Stephen, does it answer your question? Okay. So more questions to David Gropton. If no, let's go to the next one, Abstract by Yvonne. So, okay, yeah, there are questions from Aaron, and I'm playing picky. So vocal, it's not clear personally for me. Does vocal means covalent or something different? Photophysical, is it only photoluminescence or something else? So quantum properties of photoluminescence. It seems it prompts as a hint towards ability to emit a single photon, but maybe text means something else. If it is only photon bunching and anti-bunching, then or ability to emit single photon, one can tell it, declare it explicitly. If there are other properties, one can mention them. So the next sentence, I'm fully agree with content, but just by categorizing it and making it digestible, I do not know how to categorize next sentence. Is it common knowledge, is it hypothesis, or it is already found result of this calculation? Just declare what's the reason to show this statement? Is it would you please just comment?
I guess here I just want to show there may be some vacancy.
Some what?
There is some gap we need to fill.
Gap in the knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. But the sentence, the single sentence, sounds like a statement without any gaps. So just if it is introductory statement to the declaration of a gap in the knowledge, then maybe declare it. So what is the reason of this the sentence? Okay. Then after, there are two sentences that I wonder if they are presented in the best order or one can swap them. So one sentence speaks about emission of different configurations, which is photophysics. And then the next tells about the way how these defects were synthesized, which is photochemistry. And as a reader, not as a co-author, I have the following logical problem. On experiment, one first synthesizes and then characterizes. And here one first tells about characterization and then about synthesis. So if there is a reason to swap them, then maybe one can prepare reader for it in some way. Okay. So Aaron wonders if it is only emission energies or if there are dynamics computed and photoluminescence as we typically do. Aaron, there are dynamics calculation and all bells and whistles for computing photoluminescence in the right way. So then I understand that this highlighted sentence continues details of photochemistry. And Aaron is checking whether these details of formation can be introduced earlier. Well, it's up to Yulun, but I would defend putting it later because it's main body of the work. It's most complicated thing, and I would keep it as later as possible, but it's up to Yulun based on the comments. Also, maybe language formation of configuration is through singlet pathway. I would maybe slow down and make it different words like does occur something to highlight importance of this thing. So that barriers for power configuration go over triplet pathway is very interesting and non-usual result in the observation. Although it's already supported by comparison with experiment, I wonder if this work provides rational explanation, and if it does, even if it is planned to give detailed explanation, maybe one may declare it in the abstract, even if the work is still on the way. Just there is an attempt to provide rational explanation why spin multiplicity correlates with pathways of the reaction, which we will do anyway. Just declare plans to analyze mechanisms. And it's not necessary, but just to sound optimistic, maybe one can mention benefits for industries like telecom, transmission, quantum computers, and stuff. Are there more questions to you? More questions one, more questions two, more questions three. Let's go. We have three more. So the one by Sarah. I see something in the chat line. Electronic level, I would say electronic properties. Ground electronic state. Because if I don't know which journal it will go, if it will go to engineers, they may not speak the language of this DFT, and it's better to keep definitions. Iron treated, maybe iron doped, because it's I don't know if the clays are mined without iron and then iron is intrinsically treated. Maybe iron doped is more general way. So last week we were looking a lot on the photoluminescence images, and now in the abstract they're completely missed. They're not mentioned. So one shouldn't hide the strength. You shouldn't hesitate. So if it was a focus. Iron linked. We need to identify better language. So transitions associated with orbitals localized on iron, or iron 3D orbitals, but linked is just moves thinking in different direction. Let's think how to verbalize it. Amir is asking if a link, a connection of spectra to iron orbitals is the main finding of the work. So I interpret the question of Amir is that if there is something more important, then it should be highlighted by reading in the center of the abstract on this connection to iron related orbitals. It highlights it too much. Amir, do I interpret your question correctly? Okay, thank you. Then next sentence tells about band gap. So it's personal preference, but I would speak about gap before any optical properties because it is more basic property. I would at least just swap these sentences. And there, okay, we are on the same page with you, and he doesn't see logic and considers that it is odd here. So as a minimum, I would swap the sentences, maybe if you add a little logic. Okay, 3 different cases. So maybe just explicitly mentions different spin multiplicities. If you would it add a bit logic to your how you take this statement, or you want something more?
Yeah, I guess you can just say high spin, low spin, intermediate spin.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Non-adiabatic couplings between electronic orbitals. So right now, it is presented as non-adiabatic dynamics is computed. So everyone should praise and glorify the author. There should be connection. I think one of the previous abstracts has the same thing. If we center our mind on experiment and applications, we should make connection. Like we are not doing development of theory just for this cool theory. We want to predict emission properties, or alternatively, if you know better this material, if this material is ever used as a catalyst for any chemical reaction, or I don't know, changing any enzymes, if it is eventually work as a catalyst, then this non-adiabatic dynamics that charges surface of this material may affect catalytic properties of this material. But non-adiabatic dynamics for us is a tool. We want to connect it to observables. So I would immediately just verbally connect it to photoluminescence because it's already computed, and you did a lot of effort to analyze it. If through literature you find that these iron clays are used to catalyze any reaction, one can mention it and make another connection to non-adiabatic dynamics. But it's beyond my awareness, but could be added. Transformation dynamics faster than electron. Again, it's great to find this result, but does it affect emission? What are the consequences of this observation? Is it some general feature that repeatedly obtained in all situations that we studied? Maybe it's then if it is constant pattern, no matter how you excite the system, no matter what is spin multiplicity, you always get that whole relaxes faster, then you can call it Gazanfari law and declare that clays have quick holes and slow electrons, period. Universal law. But it's better to make connection to some realistic properties. More questions or suggestions to Sarah? Questions 1, more questions 2, Question 3. Oh, there are other things that David is asking, other 3 different multiplists. Yes. Okay. Abstract by Amir. So first 3 sentences look like motivation, which I'm not criticizing, just I'm making note for myself.
Mhm.
Then photo-induced charge transfer is a main mechanism. It's a declaration, but I take it as a hint towards main challenge, but it's not a boldly formulated challenge. So maybe one can tell it more openly that predicting efficiency of charge transfer is a challenge because you know better the situation in literature. So one can try to improve efficiency by designing different structures, and one needs to narrow down the list of potential candidates.
Yeah, I got your point.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So you mentioned 2 specific acceptors, fullerene and non-fullerene. Do you know experimentally which one has better efficiency, more vivid charge transfer?
Not for this polymer, but overall, yes, these non-fluorine acceptor units showed a much better performance comparing to the traditional PCBM.
Okay, then when all results are ready, comparison of it would be really good to see if computations match this trend, and if they do, then one can tell, look, in these 2 examples, everything is predicted correctly, therefore this method can be used to screen other materials.
Exactly, yeah.
We study the non-radiative flux. Well, one can make an introduction to assess efficiency of charge transfer.
Yeah, good suggestion. Thank you.
Maybe it is because I'm not native speaker, but I really do not like the word imply here.
Okay.
I would say something different, like we hypothesize, we assume, or we have certainly found. So
we found that
okay,
for sure. Yeah.
This thing of connecting computed characteristics of charge transfer and efficiency is really healthy and ambitious path. So even if it is not completely went through, it's really good direction to go, and I'm applauding for having it here. So even if it is not 100% complete, it's a good thing to have.
Sure, yeah, we have planned to do that. I hope it will fulfill our expectations.
Okay. So Aaron is asking, how do the computed relaxation rates relate to the charge transfer between DPP and acceptor unit?
So I need a little more time to have an answer for that, but just a quick answer. So when we have a transition, for instance, that exponential trend from the excited state to the relaxed state when that, for instance, green plot, we can calculate the rate of the electrons electronic relaxation from that transition to the, for instance, HUMO or LUMO. So we use that data to calculate the relaxation rate, but I'm not still sure. Need some more time to see how it's working or no. In the coming, maybe in the method section or in the result and discussion section, I will provide more details.
May I add?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. So, Aaron, I'm going to add to Amir's explanation. Maybe then you will accept our cooperative defense of the statement more enthusiastically. So, we all practice electron dynamics with an observable of relaxation of electronic population browsing in energy, cascading down between unoccupied and occupied orbitals, right? And in addition to this, there is a option to look at the dynamics of charge distribution in space, right? So if we blindly use available codes without any adjustments, we are getting two rates: rate of electron cooling and rate of hole cooling. And maybe question of Aaron was how to relate this rate of cooling to the charge transfer. And the answer is the relation is unclear, and maybe there is no relation, or there is very, very indirect. But Amir is making an effort to analyze motion of charge distribution in space. And it was one of the figures presented on the last meeting. So he was showing how the center of the positive and negative positive charge moves in space, and how the center of the negative charge moves in space. And then if one fits the dependence of this center of the charge distribution in space into rate, into like exponential or some other function, then it will be characteristics of migration of charge in space, of charge transfer. So it's a different observable. Amir is not focusing on rate of energy dissipation. He is focusing on rate of charge migration in space. Amir, did I address what your approach correctly?
Of course.
Okay, Aaron, does it make your question covered?
I guess sort of. I guess in the case of charge transfer, it's like it's still ambiguous whether, because it's like either the positive or negative charge is donated. And so it's, so that's one aspect that's not clear and that I had some additional questions about.
Okay.
But I guess then the other question is, so from the way that you're describing it, it doesn't seem like there's a driving force for one of the charges to relax to the other molecule. Is that accurate?
Yeah, let me answer. Amir, okay.
Sure.
So two questions or two focuses were made in Aaron's follow-up comment. Who is donor and acceptor, and what is a driving force? So we are speaking about acceptor of electron. So polymer serves as donor of electron, and either fullerene or non-fullerene unit serves as acceptor of electron. So it happens in the conduction band. So electron is transferring from polymer to electron acceptor unit, and hole stays on the polymer. And I agree that defining this arrangement can be done in the abstract. It would add just a couple of words, like donor of electron, acceptor of electron, and then it will be more clear to those who are not working with these materials every day. Second question, driving force. Well, the driving force is arrangement of the frontier orbitals associated with these different units. So for electron acceptor, the LUMO is lower than LUMO of donor. And then just by everything, everything goes to minimal energy. Energy dissipates. Therefore, naturally, the system comes into configuration when lowest orbital is occupied. Would you buy it as a driving force?
Yeah, that's usually what I think of.
Okay. Amir, do you follow the discussion? Would you be able to add a concept of driving force into your explanations?
Right now or for the future draft?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. And just one comment about the second question of error, which one is, do we have, for instance, electron or hole to the acceptor unit? I think these kinds of systems are very complex because DPP polymer already has some acceptor unit in its backbone. When we are talking about DA, donor acceptor conjugated polymers, means that we already combine, for instance, the oxidized dipyrrole as an acceptor unit for electron and thiophene rings as a donor. But when we put such that dominant electron acceptor in the polymer sample or box or in the simulation box, for sure they will play a role as electron acceptor, and that donor acceptor polymer units acts completely like a donor, I think. If I'm wrong, please correct me, Dr. Klein. So that was interesting point, at least for instance, even in the partial charge density distribution, which we saw that, for instance, the LUMO was appeared on the acceptor units where HOMO was on the backbone of the polymer. So that maybe showed the potential for the charge transfer. Also, we have some results from the dynamic parts to further support that there is some electron transfer between these two systems.
Aaron, does this comment satisfies your curiosity? Or it just tells that the situation is more complicated than one can imagine?
I think I understand, but I mean, there's like 3 versions of acceptor being used, so it's hard to. So you're saying the LUMO is on the folderine or non-folderine?
Yes.
And the HOMO is on the, okay.
Yes. Yeah, I got your point. Here we use them as electron acceptor mostly. So if we have some donor hole acceptors for these systems, or if they are suitable for this polymer, I don't know, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, there should be several compounds. But for this, for overall for conjugated polymers, I saw mostly electron acceptors. Maybe the reason should be they are rich enough in the polymer backbone from the electronic perspective to act as a electron donor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I guess most of my comments were just aiming at, like, you're comparing 2 different acceptors, so it's like just trying to find like a descriptor that could show why one's better than the other, like driving force or rates or something like that.
Yes.
So that was just my main comment of the abstract, is just like a structure property relation?
Yeah, so the good points is that you mentioned, I think even before doing this study, everybody knows that ITIC, for instance, non-fluorine is better than the PCBM, the fluorine based. Everybody knows, for instance, apple is different from the orange. But if we do that successfully with DFT or some theoretical approach, then we can claim that, okay, we can use this approach to rank, for instance, several non-fluorine acceptor units, which have very similar properties. So that supports this idea that we can use this approach, for instance, to help experimental community to go to do some initial tests before going for any synthesized process, for instance.
And there is one more question from Aaron. Are there differences in the way the fluorine and non-fluorine acceptors interface the polymer?
It's a good question. I did not finish summarizing all ITIC results, but from initial results, there should be major difference. But please wait until the result and discussion section. We will review them when our results are ready.
I can try to comment on this, but
sure.
My comment can be very wrong. It's just direction of thinking rather than right answer. So fluorine is like a ball, is like a sphere, and the non-fluorine is more like a flake or complicated flake, like butterfly. And the polymer is more like a ribbon. And arranging pi-pi stacking, which facilitates better charge transfer, is a little easier between butterfly and ribbon because they are more mobile and can be placed closer together, while fluorine is quite bulky and it will not allow close contact. So you need to arrange pi-pi, one needs to squeeze and move it through the forest of these branches and leaves of the side groups. So it's maybe it was not scientific comment, it's just impression of layman.
Yeah, that's good point. Because of this, I think we have much higher mobility in ITIC blend comparing to the traditional PCBM, according to the experimental data. But I hope we can show something in our computational results also.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the discussion. Are there more questions to Amir's abstract? More one, more two, more three. No more questions. And last but not least for today is the one by Stephen. So, Stephen is targeting to analyze infrared emitting complexes of the similar nature that Aaron is doing, but Stephen is basing his analysis on TDDFT spectra only. So his calculation do not have this excited state dynamics. So let's just glance through the abstract and make some comments and suggestions. So there is a motivation related to the applications. Then next sentence is good attempts to identify the challenge, which Stephen calls major obstacle. But as a reader, I'm not happy with the verbal way and logic. Like the obstacle is understand the cause of emission. So it's not obstacle. It's like more. It would be then more. We wish to understand how to increase. The word obstacle has negative connotation. I would formulate like the obstacle is additional mechanisms that prevent molecule from being efficient emitter. And I think the abstract of Aaron has very good verbal statement about gap law and non-radiative recombination preventing metal organic complexes from being efficient emitters. So maybe in the specific complexes that Stephen is looking at, there are some additional mechanisms, but it would be not bad to give more detailed explanation and specifying the challenges and obstacles. Another comment, 6 molecules following similar. So the word framework is already reserved. I wouldn't use it for metal organic complexes because the word framework is used for MOF, metal organic framework materials. It makes wrong connotation, and maybe the word pattern would fit there if Stephen agrees. The calculated density. Maybe it's not just density function of theory. Maybe it's TD or density function of theory for geometry and linear response for spectra. Something like that. And then if this methodology section is for abstract, it is too long. If this methodology section is for paper, it is too short. So it's not clear what's the reason of this section. And if we want to see a complete abstract, then one needs to declare what are the main results. And even if they are not yet fully complete, one could make an attempt to share expected results. So to have the abstract as a complete piece. Stephen, do you have any feedback or questions to the questions?
The methods section is both too long and too short because I am not certain if I want to shorten it and combine it into the abstract or lengthen it into a separate method section yet.
Okay.
But one thing is when I click the link that you have in the Google Doc for my document, it takes me to David's paper, not mine.
Okay. So no one was able to edit Stephen's work? Oh, please, if it happens again, please complain immediately. I would fix it. And I will share link with, so anyone with this link can edit. Copy link. Yeah, sorry, it's my fault.
No one said anything, so I figured it was just me, but no one just wanted to say anything, it seems.
No, maybe everyone wanted to say, but was very, very busy. So let's fix it right away. Maybe someone will give comments later on. So remove this. Place that. Whew. Okay. Any quick comments of agreement or disagreement with this abstract? Questions? 1 questions, 2 questions, 3, no questions. So adding results, mentioning results, even if they're incomplete, is kind of rule of the game. And ideally, you can say we have identified a champion emitter, and we understood the reasons, structural property relations, which makes this specific configuration to be the best emitter. Even if you are in the process of identifying, it is your goal that sooner or later you will fulfill. So it's not a big lie to declare it. Okay, so I think we are done with abstracts, and if authors please have a look on the feedback and make changes to the abstracts that can be used dual as for submission to the conference and for the future draft of the paper. And when we meet next time in a week, let me suggest that we try to compose the draft of conclusions. Some of us, may think that it is not quite logical to jump to put the cart in front of a horse, but the idea is when we try to crystallize our mind about what are the main findings, if you do this effort immediately, then it will create a really easy arrangement, pattern, framework to do the rest of the paper. Because as soon as conclusions are formulated, the rest of the paper can be logically organized as a set of arguments to support the conclusions. And it will fix a big challenge of all scientific writers. I faced this challenge myself personally, and I notice that Sarah is very close to face the challenge, that you all are skilled researchers able to generate like 100 figures at once. And the standard format of papers do not accept this amount of figures. So if we try to formulate conclusions, then later on it will serve as a seed to judge and gauge the one or another figure, whether it matches or doesn't match the paper. So if it supports the conclusions, it should be included. If it contradicts, the conclusion can be excluded. Of course, we are not going to lie and tweak actual results, but it's just the way to organize results, to have some blueprint. Also, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, we should discuss the Pacific Camp. So some of us have submitted abstracts, and it will be time to make commitments for registration and hotel and flight. Or if someone is not happy to go, to make commitment for online presentation, but in a couple of weeks we should speak of it and maybe dedicate part of the group meeting time for this question. I think we are done. So the program is successfully completed. Many thanks for enthusiastic discussion and feedback to authors for serving both role of author and role of the reviewer. So everyone is welcome to disconnect, and I'll stay connected just in case there are some one-to-one quick questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye all.
Thank you for the feedback.
And congratulations once again to Aaron.
Yeah, good job, Aaron. Congrats.
How nice. It's really perfect. I am great. It's the best figure I ever saw. Thank you. Thank you for doing it. It's truly great.
Thank you. So I plotted these 3 new transitions that we talked yesterday. And the last one, the green one, is for the previous transition that we had. Okay, and so I have a question. So you said that plot these three together in one panel.
Yes,
So,
exactly as you did. It's perfect.
oh, okay, so should I ignore the last one, the green one, or no?
If you know how to describe it, how it will fit your conclusions, results, and discussion, you can keep it. So I know that right now you are thinking about high science. I'm more cynic and looking on the way how the figure should be presented for better visualization. Right now, several lines are merged and hard to find their difference, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So, so here is a scenario how I would do this figure myself. So please consider what I'm going to say, and you're free to accept or reject. So I would redo this figure, starting from the one with highest excitation, starting from the one with largest number of peaks, starting from the one that you did green, -12 to -5.
Okay.
So I would do this as a background layer, all other figures putting on the top of it. And I would use the thickest line for it, so that if I put any line on the top of this green line, secondary layer will be still visible. So I would like make line font maybe like 6. And then I would go in a backward order. So the one that you have a green as a first, then on the top of it plot this HOMO minus blue, HOMO -6 to HOMO +1. Then on the top of it, I would plot red, HOMO -7 to HOMO, and then on the top of it, I would plot this gray HOMO to HOMO. And if one decreases the line width as we go from bottom layer to top layer, then all figures will be seen even if the lines like go through the same area of space.
Okay. So you mean that I should just change the thickness of the lines?
Change the thickness and make the most rich, most detailed, the line with more peaks at the background layer, and the simplest line with only one peak at the front layer.
Okay.
And then it will be quite possible to analyze them, telling if one excites to HOMO to LUMA, then emission happens only from HOMO to LUMA, and there are no side peaks in the infrared range.
Oh, okay. I see.
And as we go to higher and higher excitation, more and more additional peaks appear in the luminescence. They will be not as pronounced as the main peak as a HOMO LUMA, but they will be still there.
Okay.
And placing, you were sending, oh, it is your slides. Once you did several, can you go to slide number 12?
Yes, yes. I have a question, yeah, here also.
So this one could be good for supporting information, but for the main figure, it is too much. I would keep maybe only the last row.
This one?
Yeah, only the last row, but the third column, for the third figure, use the one with several lines.
Okay.
And then you can verbally explain first, second, and last panel that why there are single lines, and then make a special explanation about this. Yeah, that it summarizes several examples of dynamics. Yes.
Okay, just put it.
Exactly. And then you will have quite compact amount of figures, but the amount of logical information will be as rich as when you have the 16 panels.
Okay. Okay, and what about this figure? Which one? This is for the spin up, and these trees are the new transitions for a spin down.
Keep one which you select as most beautiful in the paper, and send the whole figure as is to supporting information.
Mhm.
So the paper that Amir has published does not have supporting information.
Yeah.
But typically, today, majority of papers do have. So it is what people do in the same, when they face the same challenge as you do. If I am so productive calculator that I can generate hundreds of figures, and then I feel my heart is attached to these figures, I cannot discard them. But I know that journal will not take them into main paper. I can dump like 100 pages on figures as a supporting information document. It will be available, reviewers will look on it if they want. It will be available on the internet as a website, but is not considered as a main paper.
Yeah, I see.
And then we like keep wolves fed and keep sheep alive.
Okay, so for this picture, I think it's better to keep the last one as we keep the last transition for this picture. So for this figure also, we should it's better to keep the last one.
I'm okay. Let me make a comment, and maybe it will be also interesting to you. So let's look on the last one that you want to keep and the first one.
This one and this one, you mean?
Yeah, and let's look on the third column, second column with space dependence. So in the last one, the yellow stripe is in the middle and blue stripes are aside, which means electron is on the iron and holes are on oxygen.
Yes.
So it means we charge positively the surface of your plate.
Mm-hmm.
In the upper figure, top figure, it looks like the electron is on a surface and hole is on the metal. So we charge negatively the surface of a plate. If these calculations are reasonable and correct, maybe it didn't went no. Well, if everything is correct, it means by different photo excitation, you can charge surface by different charge, positive and negative, and then it will affect chemistry of molecules that are absorbed to this clay surface. So you can control catalysis. And if it is a medical application of growing cyborgs, putting this DNA on the surface, by controlling positive or negative charge, it may facilitate absorption, desorption, or maybe even breaking the peptide bond. So I don't think it is a main goal of this paper, but I'm just bringing a seed of a thought for the future. So this dynamics may open a door to speak about catalysis on a surface. Ewan, would you do you approve this direction of thinking? Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And a couple of days ago, I shared with Sarah old papers by Stephanie. And Stephanie didn't compute photoluminescence at those like 5 years ago. Her main goal was to predict catalytic properties. So it's already for different materials, not for clays.
Which one? Titanium oxide?
Yeah. She had titanium dioxide with some dopants.
Mm-hmm.
So we will, after we are done with this paper, we will make a brainstorming session and decide what is most promising direction to go, but it could be one of the possible directions. If there are experiments on catalytic activity of clays, we can say our competitive words to this direction. Sorry, I'm speaking too much. Sir, maybe you had other questions.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
So, I mean, so during the reaction pathway, they can choose whatever spin state they want.
Okay, yes, I'm very interested, and I was trying things like that in the past. So then we can follow the magnetization along the path and just see that this value will flip. Yeah, it's very, very good idea.
Because by adding more intermediates during the reaction pathway, it seems it will change our previous results.
I know it is not very good, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Did you try the method of Evergen Meyer?
Not yet.
Yeah, I did try it not for carbon nanotubes, for other system, and it seems working. Like selecting 2 points very close to transition state, and then it indeed goes into different directions with very detailed set of points.
Okay.
And of course, it is not as justified as transition state search, but since it gives higher detailization, I think this method has right to live.
Mm-hmm.